Okay, so I'm just going to finish recording over the slides for chapter 8. I've said a couple times, chapter 8 is not mostly psychology. It's standard for developmental textbooks to include what they sometimes call growth or health, um, little public health. Some of it is really worth going through. It's actually, yeah, so I find these chapters worthwhile. But I do, like I told you before, some of the time I'm talking to these slides, I might be just speaking from general knowledge. Most of this is not psych. Nonetheless, let's continue right here. So, illness, injury, and maltreatment. You know, um, well, first of all, epidemiological studies. Once in a while in your text, they'll cite a really big study. You know what I think is really worth knowing for a psychology undergraduate? Determining the base rate of different things. What is the base rate of schizophrenia in the population? What is the base rate of, childhood neglect? What is the base rate of whatever? Um, those kinds of studies those kinds of questions require epidemiological studies. And I think what I would tell you about that is it's a very large N study that is designed to be representative of a full population. Very big, very expensive, hard to do studies. So you know, uh, we do epidemiologic studies when something like COVID happens. So, for example, a lot of the public was really angry or got frustrated when the story kept evolving in terms of how deadly COVID was. And they thought the scientists were flip-flopping. The scientists really weren't flip-flopping at all. It takes time when something happens quickly, like an outbreak of a disease. It takes a lot of time before we can get really, really high quality representative epidemiological studies. So in the meantime, they'll go with the best information they have. But always we want big epidemiology studies as the gold standard. We went through a bunch of diseases. I think I already showed you this. Um, we talked a little bit about obesity, so there's a little overlap here. Um, I said that is becoming a serious pediatric issue. There's no doubt in my mind that in the future we'll hear about a lot more about metabolic disease for people that have, just sort of struggled with weight for their whole lives. Safety. Um, if you're as old as I am, then you know that, safety is a really new concept. When I was a kid, we didn't even have car seats. We didn't have seat belts in the cars. So we certainly didn't wear seat belts. We didn't have bike helmets. Um, and I know I talked about so we're still overlapping a little. On to abuse. People typically break child abuse uh, and neglect into these four categories. Sometimes people call emotional abuse, they call it psychological abuse. There are many kinds of neglect. Um, and neglect, let's look at this nice graph. You can see that neglect is really different than abuse. Abuse has been in steady decline. Neglect has been pretty stable. Um, my sense about neglect is that it has a lot more, it's a bigger index of overall parental competence than the other kinds of abuse. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, if a parent has major mental illness, the chance of being a neglectful parent is pretty high. If a parent has a low IQ, the chance of being a neglectful parent is elevated. If a parent is just poor, um, really low resource parent, they're going to have trouble meeting the needs of the child. So in a way, it's just a different category of problems. Whereas abuse, um, the kinds of things that are causing abuse, we've been able to be more successful in terms of intervening. So no way am I saying abuse is gone. It's not gone. It's all too common. But if you just look at the graph across the past 15 to 20 years, the story is pretty good. Um, then we get into stress. It's helpful to think about stress as something that is completely normal, a normative part of life, actually kind of important. You want a certain amount of stress. Um, we exercise to stress our bodies. Um, we we enjoy stressful activities to some degree. I'm in the middle of a Stephen King novel because and that gives me stressful moments. However, of course, we have a threshold where we don't like to go past. And excessive stress can be very toxic. We pay more and more attention now to what we call toxic stress, and that's just a fancy word for too much, unhealthy. Child abuse is a form of toxic stress. There's lots of kids that are living in conditions of war right now. No question, they're experiencing toxic stress. There might be kids that are homeless or kids that are experiencing like real problems of racism or other kind of social, I want to call them pathologies. So, some amount of stress is normal. Excessive stress is really bad. Yeah. I did say I will. I don't know if I put these video slides online yet or not, but I certainly will. Contributors to maltreatment and injury, economic resources. Yeah, that's very, very clear. Poverty is a risk factor for everything that is bad. Parental efforts, capacities to support their children's health. That's kind of redundant with parental competence. Um, This, I think you already probably know. We've talked about poverty before in this class. One thing I'll add right to this slide, this is actually really important. Poverty is a big risk factor. So we talk about risk factors in development, we talk about protective factors. Really important to understand that risk factors aren't independent of each other. They tend to be highly correlated. So what I mean by that is if you carry one big risk factor, you probably carry a bunch. Likewise, if you're a child who carries a lot of protective factors, you probably carry a bunch of protective factors. So good things clump together and bad things clump together. And that's unfortunate, but that's really important to understand because when we talk about risk and resilience, often what we're talking about is the aggregate cluster of all the risks the child carries. They kind of all work together to push the child into a pathological space. Um, Looking at poverty, uh, so this is poverty compared to income. This is a not super easy to read graph. So the white is, 400, 4 times the if your income is 4 times the poverty rate, you are in the top 10% of your ethnic group. That's how I read this. It's one of these, I've been critical of some of the book's graphs before. Some of these graphs I think could be made to be a little more transparent. I think the overall story here is pretty clear. Um, if we compare uh, poverty levels across the ethnicity, so this is the white, Black, and Hispanic, we see the least poverty as we would expect it, because we already know race and ethnicity correlate with poverty for a lot of reasons related to sort of historical racism. Down below, we see also that likelihood of having various disease processes and other problems are greater as you have less money, as you're more poor. This has been much in the news in the last several years. I'm sure you've heard about it. So I said a few minutes ago that risk factors correlate. Well, think about this. Let's think about the lead problem in Michigan. What neighborhoods were the last to get new pipes? What neighborhoods were the most likely to have dilapidated lead pipes? Were they the rich neighborhoods or were they the poor neighborhoods? Unfortunately, the answer is obvious. It's poor neighborhoods. And poor neighborhoods, these kids already had a lot of risks because they came from poor families. Well, getting lead poisoning, which causes some amount of brain damage, is just a triple whammy on top of what other things was going wrong for the child. So just a really good example that risk factors correlate together, they clump together, they travel together, and the opposite is true as well. Not a super helpful graphic. Um, Within our own country and across countries, huge differences in illness, injury, and maltreatment. Actually, in our book, which I've talked a little bit about, we wanted to have some international coverage of maltreatment. It actually turns out to be really hard to achieve that just because most countries in the world don't even have the resources or the plan to collect these data. So we have very good data in the United States about maltreatment reports. Hard to get that in a lot of other countries. Little kiddo getting a vaccine. That's a good thing. Let's see. I think we are just about done. Uh, Let me just see if there's anything else I want to talk about. Good. Okay. So where I left was in the Cascades. Let's just take a look and see if I want to highlight anything in particular. I think that, so I'm looking in the Cascades. Sleep is really interesting. Lots of sort of health and wellness cascades involving sleep. Take a look at those. So this was just a short video. I was almost done before, but nonetheless, I'll load this video.